Hey, what's up, everyone? So we talked about SumoQuote and getting the different statuses, like when they click on it or they open it. There's a lot of things that you can do. And there's Zapier, but there's also a native way to just tie SumoQuote directly to your bums and not have to deal with Zapier in between, which I find to be much more efficient. And it has quite a bit more power when you get into custom fields and things like that. So I want to show you how to do it. And you can go through Zapier with this and go into other programs so you can learn to use other softwares. But of course, my goal here is to show you the use of BUMS and how you can leverage it. So without further ado, let's get moving. So what you're going to do first is you're going to go into tools, you go into Automagic, and you're going to create a workflow. And what you're going to do is create a workflow from scratch. To relabel it, I'm going to actually mark this down as delete me because I've already made one of these, so I'm not going to duplicate. And what you're going to do is you're going to add a trigger, and you're going to go to webhooks, inbound webhook, and there's your webhook. You're going to copy that. All right. So you're going to copy that. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that real quick. But you're going to copy, and you're not going to do this part that I'm doing. And you're going to go over to SumoQuote. When you go into SumoQuote, if you go into configuration account settings, you'll scroll down to the bottom and you'll see API. Here, you'll create the webhook you want. And Ryan and his team have done a great job of creating webhooks that really are well thought out for the most part. And they do a good job. What you'll do is you'll come down and see, what do I want to be my on switch? I want the email bounced. I want the report was deleted or the report was updated. In our case, we're going to do email clicked. So I'll say email clicked, and I'm going to put this in here. Now you can do several others, and you can use the same webhook as well. There's like filtering, but for now, we're just going to make a webhook for each. And what we did is I already created this email link, right? Now what you're going to want to do then is go to one of your projects, send your email and do the action that you're talking about. Send, open, signed. You're going to do that action because what it's going to do, it's going to create a log, and it's going to show when that information went over. Here's the information that went over. And they did a good job of keeping a log. I actually like that very much. Very well thought out, Ryan. So props to you for doing a great job on the API part in your team. So now go back to your automation, and I have one here that I started. So this one here, which is where those are going, you're going to go to inbound, and you're just going to look up different ones. You're going to look up which request you want that has the information that you opened. And you'll see here, this was sent to Tony Stark. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, by the way, they do it over indulgence of information. I could tell you they have a little too much, but too much has always been than too little. So not a big deal. But here I can see one thing that it's not signed. Signed report is no. I also, if I scroll up, I can see that the action is email clicked. So those are the two things that I really need. And then I have the recipient here of Tony at Boss Up Solutions. So that's the information. Those are the 3 bits of information we're going to need to make what we want happen. All right. So let's get moving. Now, the first thing we're going to do is if somebody clicks on an email, the next thing they hopefully do is sign. So if I want to send them a drip campaign, if they signed, I probably want them going somewhere else. But how do I know if they signed or not? So let's come up with a reasonable amount of time that they probably need to make a decision when they're looking at it. So let's say I'm going to say 5 minutes. So 5 minutes of time is what I'm going to give them. I could give them more. I could give them less. This is a personal opinion. I'm going to give them 5 minutes to make a decision. I'm going to save that action. So basically I'm going to wait 5 minutes. Then I'm going to see what they decided. Did they already sign it or did they not? Because this trigger already went off. And because this trigger went off, I need to make sure they hadn't signed it. Now, what I would do to make this more efficient is I would use tags. Basically, when they sign, I would have it instantly go and add a tag that says signed. So I can do something very simple like this. Like I can do contact details, tags, signed, right? And it would move forward. Now, because some of you might not do the tag part, and to show you how to do it right here, right now, I'm going to add another condition, and I'm going to say, we're the inbound webhook trigger. That's all that information that we pulled. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. We'll look for signed Sumo report. And we're going to say is, and then they like to say no. I'll show you this in a second. No is no, right? Is no, contains no is actually a better way to do it because it'll actually get rid of any punctuation, that type of thing. They not signed on this branch. So see how there's this branch, it's going not signed, and this one is the opposite action, which I can create an action or I could just leave it dead. Now, when I told you about that no, I want to show you where I found that. If we scroll down again, all the way to the bottom here, get the signed Sumo report detail and it says null. You see how it says null right there? That's the null that I'm using to say, okay, if it says null, keep going. If it doesn't say null, stop. Because I gave him 5 minutes after that trigger. So there was a go, there's 5 minutes. Then I'm going to check if it says null or not. And one part about that I don't like is there's some other things that you want to do to make it better. Truth is, I'd make a second action that's going to simply just go in. If this is my trigger for signed, I would add a tag and I would just add the signed tag. And that way, what will happen is this will become much, much cleaner and much, much better. Trust me, it's just a way better way of doing it. But okay, moving on. What are we going to do now? Now that it's not signed, I want to go ahead and send. I love voice drops. I think they're the most personal thing if you think about it. And I'm going to upload a voice drop that's going to say something like, hey, I was just curious if you had a chance to look at that estimate or proposal. If you had any questions, I know it could be confusing. I just want to let you know I'm available at 847-238-8558. You can call me or text me on this line. And I look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any questions, let me know. By the way, email and text as well. So you have a little bit more information about us, right? Boom. I save that action. Now I'm going to have to upload a file in here. So we'll just upload something that I have over here real quick. I'm going to save it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to seem human, right? Wait to seem human. And let's just say I wait like just a little bit, not too much, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send a SMS. And that SMS is going to say something like, just curious if you had time to review the proposal and if you had any questions. And then sales guy's name, right? Tom or whatever. So I save that in there. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I promise him some information. I'm going to do a little email. I'm going to send him an email. It's going to go from to, we'll get into the email format, but I'm basically going to say this is going to be like testimonials. When people are trying to reach decisions, stories, testimonials, these are great things. I'm going to put that in there, right? And I'm going to save it. So now what's going to happen, if you think about it, it's going to get this trigger that somebody clicked. It's going to check. And I will tell you, I really would prefer you making the condition that it's tagged with signed or not. But it's going to check to see if it's signed or not. And if it's not, it's going to go ahead and drop this voice drop. Just a little, did you have a chance? It's going to wait just a teeny bit. It's going to send an SMS. And then if we want, it's going to send this email. I don't have this email set up, but let's just real quickly set it up. So if I just do Kate from Boss of Kate Mail, whatever it is, I'm just going to make a bogus email here for real quick. So there's our email. Now I can go for say if, right? So I can say signed and I could say contact details. I'm going to show you here what I'm doing here. Tags includes signed, right? So add a condition. So I'm going to say does not include signed. Oops, signed. And it's just which way you flip it, right? So that's not a big deal, but I'm going to say does not include signed. And I'm going to say this is not signed. So I'm going to say not signed. And what I want to do is right above this condition, I'm going to put wait. But wait for 1 day. All right. So now I waited for 1 day and it's still not signed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send another voice drop. And I'm going to say something like, hey, just checking back in. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at it. I'm sure you had some questions or concerns. If you want, let me know when's a good time to chat. I'm going to be in your area on Friday if you'd like me to stop by. I don't know which Friday is. I don't know which person I said, but I'm just putting this information out there so they call or text back. You see how powerful that is? Now, a couple settings you're going to want to make sure when you're doing this is inside of settings, you want this to not allow reentry. You don't want it to go into reentry because what's going to happen is every time they click it, it's going to want to repeat. And you only want it to happen once. Now, this is where the power of tags comes in. If you start tagging stuff as clicked, signed, sent, that's going to be super powerful, but we'll get more and more into that. Now be sure to save your work and publish it. So you're going to publish and save. And of course, this one's a bogus one, but I want to share that with you. And that's going to make it super powerful for you to get way more closes, way more contact, way more conversion from your SumoQuote. So hopefully that helps. Let me know. what you think and what questions you have, and hopefully that will get you underway with bringing Bums and SumoQuote or High Level and SumoQuote together.